Okay, good morning, guys. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll give you the injury update here first. Um, so these guys will not practice today. Pat DeMarco, John Feliciano, Tommy Sweeney, Taiwan Jones, Corey Thompson, Josh Norman, Christian Wade, and Stephon Diggs. And I'm sure you're asking about Stephon. He's got a little bit of low back soreness right now that we're monitoring. So with that, we'll open it up to your questions.
Hey, good morning, Sean. I was curious with the NBA postponing its playoff games last night, the MLB postponing games, and several teams announcing that they will not practice today in the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting. Did the Bills, did your team, your players ever have a discussion about not practicing today?
You know, I can tell you that I thought about it. We thought about it from the administrative side. You'd have to ask the players about that. I know I can tell you this, that we've had and we'll continue to have ongoing conversations about things that are going on in our world and the result of those things.
I remember back in the offseason, you'd said that no players had announced their plans to you, their plans to protest during games or before games. Was wondering if any of that has changed and if you would still be joining them, or if you had decided to join them if they had decided to go that route before games.
Yeah, Marcel, you know, it's something that is obviously very serious, and it's a situation and the situation that a situation we take very seriously here, as I've said from the start, and those conversations are ongoing and will continue. So, you know, we have not at this point put an end to any of those conversations in terms of come to any finality on anything.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Hey, Sean. I just kind of going off of what Marcel said.
I can't hear her. You're on. I can't hear you, Heather.
All right, you got me? Got me now? Okay. Okay. Technology, right? Kind of going back to Marcel's question. I know that during the George Floyd, all of that, when that was happening, you said that your leadership council, you guys had a lot of open discussions. Now, with you see what the NBA is doing, what kind of conversations have you guys had as a team? Do you plan on, you know, I know some teams have said that they are planning on having, you know, small group discussions after their practices today. You know, just what have your conversations been like? And, you know, do you guys plan on doing anything like that?
Yeah, I can tell you we have had some very lengthy and serious conversations as a team. And then I'm sure there's been some, you know, conversations as well in smaller groups. As I mentioned with my answer to Marcel, it is a situation that we take very, very seriously. I, as a leader, take it seriously as well. And so those conversations will continue. I think those are good conversations to have.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach, I know sometimes outside noise is not something that's wanted in a locker room, but in a situation like this, why is it important to let conversations about social injustice, racial injustice, systemic racism enter the locker room? Why is it important to let that disrupt what you guys are doing in order to have these types of conversations?
Well, it's always important to know what's going on in our world from a current event standpoint. You know, at the end of the day, we're all human, even though we're in the bubble of the NFL or professional sports. We're all still a part of this world and this country. And so the other piece of it that's critical to me is that our players know that we care about them and support them. And you know, we're sensitive to the things that they've been around, seen in some ways as well. So I think it's important that they know that that they're being heard and that they have a voice and that we support them.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Sean, John Scott. Kind of wanted to get a football question in here. What's today? What should we expect to see from the scrimmage atmosphere that you guys are partaking?
Yeah, John, it's so our goal today is to come out and get the guys in as much of a routine as we can. We've got a number of new guys, as you're aware of, on our team that have never even been in this stadium locker room. The locker room was under construction for some time to make sure it met protocols, and now that it's done, I had a chance to look at it last week, and the players now for the first time on the other side of the wall from me here, as you can probably hear the music in the background. And so that's important that they, as a competitor, can have a feel for what it's like and what our pregame routine is like, as well as our halftime routine, and get as comfortable as they can heading into week one.
On the fields, Mitch mentioned there, and even Jordan yesterday, there's a fine line between going 100, which would simulate somewhat a preseason game to get ready, and also understanding you're still going up against your teammates. How are you going to cater things today to balance that fine line?
Yeah, we talk a lot about good teams knowing how to practice against one another, whether the tempo is live. In this case, a lot of the day will be live, or the tempo is what we call thud or tag off. That's important that guys can stay up on their feet and have that respect for one another, all the while continuing to sharpen each other and continue to drive towards our goal of getting ready for the season.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, it's Adam Benini, WGRZ Buffalo. Going back to the social issues for just 1 second, if we could. What just is your general reaction to what has gone on in professional? Sorry if you can hear my dogs. There's a mower going outside. I apologize. What's your general reaction to what's happening, how the NBA is reacting, what's happening in Major League, and the overall response to this in sports?
My reaction to what I've seen, some of the measures that are being taken, is that what you?
Yeah, how the NBA, the NBA canceling its playoff games, like the statement being made within pro sports to address what's going on socially.
Yeah, I think it's admirable that the players and the staffs and the organizations have taken the approaches that they have. Obviously that action needs to be taken, and each and every one has their own opinion as to what is the right thing to do. And so the important thing for me is that we continue to try and do the right thing within our organization. I certainly can't, I don't affect or impact what other decisions are made outside of our organization, but inside of our organization, we're always going to try and do the right thing. And so I think that's important.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. I'm going to ask you a football question. Matt Nagy, the Bears coach, recently said that he was planning on keeping 2 kickers just because you can't roll the dice on a game day that something may come up COVID-related and be missing a kicker. Obviously, you have a pair of capable ones right now in camp. Is that something that you've thought about and considered and would consider?
It is, Josh. Similar to the quarterback position and other positions, as we go back a couple of days ago when we saw the situation that we had to deal with, it can take a pretty big chunk out of your team in a hurry. And so we have to be aware of that and learn from what unfolded the other day, even though it turned out to be a drill. Does that mean that we're going to do that? Not necessarily. I think all options are up in the air right now as we continue to evaluate the roster, and then once the roster is set, how we want to handle those individual pieces around the roster.
Just a quick little follow-up. I mean, the kicking spot, that is one of those positions where, I mean, you can't just randomly pull a guy. I mean, if you don't have a backup, maybe, I don't know, who would be the backup? Is it a punter? Are you going to send Micah Hyde? I'm sure Micah Hyde would volunteer to go out and kick a field goal.
Yeah, it's funny. We literally had or have had that conversation, ironically enough, as late as I think it was yesterday again. Okay, who's our backup place kicker? Who's our backup, or backup to, it's backup to the backup, long snapper the same way. So you've got to be able to function and get yourself at least out of that day's game, and then try and address it after that. So, yeah, you got to be organized and you got to have a good plan. And even when you do, sometimes in a situation like this, it may not work out in your favor, but you try to do the best you can.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Sean, Matt Fairburn here. Curious what you've learned as you've had conversations with your players over the last few months, and I guess you could even take it all the way back to 2017 and what, was the conversation then. What have you learned about some of the issues and some of the things that matter to them and what, the issues that are facing Black people in this country?
I learned a ton. I learned a ton just by listening, and in particular to the recent conversations. I mean, going back to 2017, yes, and all the while, and I think those leaning in on guys with our team here has been important over the years, in particular this year, and as late as this year, and the conversations we've had recently. Anytime you're able to spend more time together, you're able to get to know one another better as well. And so understanding each other's story, that's part of the reason why we share stories around here, so that people can better understand one another and where we all come from and how we're all the same, yet how we're all different. And I think that leads to, sharing that information leads to better understanding, hopefully.
How has that kind of molded you as you've evolved as a leader and as a coach and as a man, I guess?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How has that kind of molded your leadership style or how you approach, your job as a coach and a leader of these guys? Yeah,
I mean, we're called to love one another, right? That's what it says in the Bible. It's what I try and do. Not always, listen, I'm not perfect, but I think that's where it all starts, is loving one another regardless of background and stories. So. And that's, to me, what we've tried to do here is be a transformational type culture. And we've talked, you guys know, you've been with me. I've been with you now 3 going on 4 years here. And I think that love, the unconditional love that our players have for one another is unique and special. And we wouldn't want that to, continue to spread out into our community. And I think every player would feel the same.
Thanks, Sean.
Coach, good morning. Top of the morning to you. I know it's a little windy out here, so bear with me. I know that it's always nice to have those big splash in free agency, and you get top college prospects. But we always pride ourselves on is how we develop. So, if you care to talk about what practice squad player or undrafted free agent rookie has impressed us by.
You said, Mookie, practice squad player or undrafted free agent? I lost you at the end.
Yeah, what practice squad free agent or what practice squad guy or undrafted free agent has been impressing you thus far?
Yeah, I think they've all done a good job, honestly, Mookie, and that's been impressive to me how resilient the group is. It's one thing to come in this year as a rookie. It's another thing to be an undrafted rookie this year. And I've got a special place in my heart for those guys because I've been an underdog my whole life, and I embrace that mindset. And those guys now see that they're underdogs, and now the deck is even stacked more against them because of the lack of time. And so, just as a whole, I think the group's been very impressive, very resilient, and smart football players, to say the least.
All right, Coach. I'll let you get right to it. Enjoy your scrimmage.
Okay, man. Thanks, Mookie.
Hey, Sean. I understand the difficulty of the position that you're put in because today's a huge day, being the scrimmage, and it's a big day leading up to the season because you don't have a preseason game, and the importance behind that, but also the importance behind what happened last night from a sports historical perspective with the Bucks, with the MLS, with the WNBA, with the MLB. I'm just wondering, did you give your players at all the option to not practice today because of the enormity of the moment last night, while also considering the enormity of the practice today?
Well, that goes to me, we're an open team here, and they know my door is always open. And we've done that in the past, and the guys know that, and we will continue to do that going forward, that they know where my heart is and where the organization's heart is. And so, you know, I hope my goal is that they understand that always, that they have that option. And, you know, we don't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do around here. And so I think, again, it goes back, Joe, to the mutual respect that I hope that we have, everyone inside of our building has for one another. These are very emotional conversations. They're emotional decisions. They're emotional feelings, and they're things that we take very, very seriously.
On a much lighter side, on a football perspective, what have you seen from Cody Ford in his development in his second season, wherever he ends up playing, wherever you guys decide, but what have you seen from him in his second year?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. I thought it really started back, Joe, in the off season when he had a little bit of rehab going on, and he knocked that out with flying colors, and just the maturity off the field, on the field. I mean, those two connect as we talk about, and you know, he's got a great way about him in terms of the nastiness, and how he can flip the switch when he's on the field, and that toughness that he brings to our football team is valued at a high level.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. One more. Okay.
Hey, Sean, can you see me okay?
Yeah, I got you, Thad. Go ahead.
Okay. First time myself on my bad. You talked on Monday, made it pretty clear about your unhappiness with the Dolphins having his fans for the home opener against you guys. But Miami's plan is 13,000 people socially distant. To me, that sounds like fourth quarter of a preseason game. How much of a legit competitive balance concern is that situation to you?
Yeah, it's not really a concern of mine. I mean, you know, I was asked the question, and you know, just would like to see everything be level. Obviously, in this case, it may not be level, and we control what we can control, and it's not a concern of mine. What I need to be concerned about are the things that we can control, and that starts with us, and that's from now. That 13,000 people, you know, you see some of that at games around the league. Obviously, this year we're going to see some of that, and you know, that's not the difference. That's not going to make a difference in the game overall. So that's what we're focused on right now, is what we can control, and we've moved on, honestly, and so that's what I expect our team to do, is continue to focus on what's in front of us.